When we make measurements in chemistry, the quality of your measurement depends on the tool that you're using. So when we're measuring length or width or height, things like that, typically we use a ruler. Now, we're all pretty familiar with a ruler, but just very quickly to review, we're going to pretend that I want to measure this square piece of paper. So our plastic rulers, so in science, we're going to use the metric side, so we're going to use the centimeter side. And these rulers look like they end at 0, but you always want to check. And I'm going to line it up the best that I can with my edge. Now, if I'm reading this, my ruler is in increments of 1 centimeter, and then they're divided up into tenths of centimeters. I can measure to 100th of a centimeter because I know my ones, I know my tens, I can estimate to the hundredths. So this reads 7, and then I see the 5 and the 6 tick mark, and it seems like it doesn't quite hit the 7, so I'm going to say that my measurement is 7.69. So I can say that this is 7.69 centimeters. Now, my 7 was known from my ruler, my 6 was known from my ruler, my 9 is my estimate. So rulers are pretty straightforward. Let's look at tools to measure volume. So we can measure length, width, and height and calculate volume. We can also measure volume of liquids using graduated cylinders and beakers. Now, if we want to compare the two, take a minute, just look at the dash marks. Which one do you think is going to be more accurate? If you're thinking the graduated cylinder, that one's right. Our graduated cylinders will always give us more accurate readings. But let's look at the beakers first. So if I look at this beaker, there are two sets of numbers. There's one that counts down from 0 to 50 to 100 to 150, or it counts up from 50 to 100 to 150 to 200. It depends on what measurement you want. If you fill it to the 100 line and start pouring out, you can measure that you poured out 50, you poured out 100. If you're filling it to measure, then you want to measure from the side that's increasing from bottom to top. So you're going to fill it to the 50, fill it to the 100, to the 150. If I were to measure this, if I get down at approximately eye level, let it stop moving, I would say that this is maybe 100 milliliters. It seems to be right about at that line. Beakers are good for estimated values, not if you need to know a specific amount. Depending on which beaker I use changes what my increments are. If I have my 50 milliliter beaker, my increments are in tens. If I have my 100 milliliter beaker, my big numbers are in 20s, and the numbers and the tick marks in between designate tens. And then these guys, the bigger beakers, go in 50s, and then the smaller increments show 25, so 50, 75, 100, and so on. Now finally, if we look at graduated cylinders, those are what we're going to use if we want to make more accurate measurements. And again, the bigger the tool, the less precise your answer is going to be. So my most precise number would be my 10 milliliter graduated cylinder, the little one. With my 10 milliliter, the big increments are in ones, it goes from 0 to 10, and then the small increments are in tenths, which means I can estimate to the 100th place. So if I'm using my 10 milliliter graduated cylinder, I'm going to get down, read from the bottom of the meniscus. I read the 7, I read 7.6, and maybe 7.68 milliliters. So I can read the 7, I can read the 0.6 mark, and then I'm estimating to the 0.08 or 0.09. With my 50s, the big numbers are in increments of 10, and then the little tick marks are in increments of ones. So with this one, again, get down at eye level, look at the bottom of the meniscus. I read 31.2, so 32.5. So I can only go to the 10th place using my 50 milliliter graduated cylinder. Same with my hundredths. So this is just a bigger cylinder. Still, the big numbers are in tens, the small numbers are in ones, so I can estimate to the tenths. So I get down, I read from the bottom of the meniscus, I see 63.2. So these two guys only go to the tenths. This guy goes to the hundredths. So again, the quality of your measurement, the precision, depends on what type of tool you're using.